Listen to me, babies. Gather close like you used to when the porch light was the only thing keeping the dark away. I'm Auntie Mae, and tonight I'm not here to scold you. I'm here to save you from the same knife I once stuck in my own heart. You see, pride is a beautiful mask, but underneath it is a child terrified of looking small. I know because on my 63rd birthday, my own son looked me dead in the eye and said, "Take your cheap gift and leave." Those words hit harder than any hand ever could. But what happened after, oh child, what happened after is the reason I'm talking to you right now, voice shaking, tears already falling, because some lessons only come wrapped in pain so sharp it cuts the blindness clean out your eyes. I walked into that house carrying a small wooden box I'd painted myself, nothing fancy, just love worn smooth by these old hands. My son, my only baby, stood there in his expensive suit, new wife at his side, new furniture that still smelled like the store, and before I could even say happy birthday to myself, he laughed. Not a kind laugh, a laugh that said I didn't belong in his new life anymore. "Mama, we don't need handmade things. We have real art now, real art." As if love carved into cedar with a pocket knife ain't the realest thing this world will ever know. I set that box down on the marble counter, told him happy birthday to me anyway, and walked out before my legs gave way. In the car, I cried so hard the streetlights blurred into rivers, but I left that box, and what was inside it is the first thing you need burned into your soul tonight. That box held every single letter he ever wrote me from summer camp, from juvie, from basic training, from the hospital the night his first baby was born. Letters where he called me his hero, his anchor, his everything. It held the hospital bracelet from the day he came into this world screaming. It held the first dollar he ever earned mowing Mrs. Henderson's lawn, pressed flat between wax paper because he said, "Mama, this one's for you." It held the obituary of his daddy, the man who left us when he was 7, folded so many times it felt like cloth. And on top, wrapped in the scarf I knitted while sitting beside his bed when cancer tried to take him at 19, was one single photograph, him at 6 years old, missing both front teeth, arms wrapped around my neck, smiling like I hung the moon. That was the gift he called cheap. That was the gift he told me to take and leave. Child, never let success make you so blind you can't recognize the treasures that kept you alive long enough to get here. Your mother's prayers, your grandmother's last $20 slipped in your pocket, the teacher who stayed after school, these ain't cheap. These are the bones your big life is built on. Forget that, and one day you'll stand in a cold house full of marble and realize you threw away the only warmth you ever had. I drove home that night tasting metal in my mouth, the way you do when shame and fury fight inside your chest. I sat on my porch, same porch where I taught him to tie his shoes, where I held him when his daddy never came back, where I rocked him through fevers and heartbreak and every storm life threw. And I asked God not why he hurt me. I knew why. Success had whispered to him that poor was something you could outrun if you just bought enough shiny things. No, I asked God to show him before it was too late. Because I've seen it. Babies, men and women who climbed so high they forgot, who pushed them on the swing when they were too small to reach the chains. They wake up rich and lonely, surrounded by people who love what they have, not who they are, and the saddest part, the people who loved them when they had nothing are usually already gone, buried under pride nobody bothered to dig up. I didn't want that for my boy. I wanted him to hurt just enough to remember how to feel. 3 days later he called. Voice sounded like gravel soaked in regret. "Mama, can you come over?" I won't lie, part of me wanted to say no. Part of me wanted him to sit in that big empty house and choke on what he'd done. But love don't work like that. Love puts on its good coat and drives across town, even when its feelings are still bleeding. When I walked in, he was sitting on the floor. On the floor, mind you, suit jacket thrown somewhere, tie loose, like a little boy again. That wooden box was open in front of him, letters everywhere, the hospital bracelet on his wrist like he was trying to go back in time. He couldn't even look at me, just kept saying, "I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry." And I stood there watching my grown son cry like the day he lost his first tooth and thought he was dying. That's the second thing I need you to tattoo on your heart. Pride will make you push away the very hands that once carried you, but humility will bring you to your knees fast enough to save your soul. Don't wait for life to humble you the hard way. Swallow that pride while it's still small enough to go down easy. He picked up the photograph, the one with his gap-toothed smile wrapped around my neck, and he whispered, "How could I forget this?" And I told him the truth. "Baby, you didn't forget. You just started believing the lie that love has a price tag. See, the world will tell you that success is a bigger house, a fancier car, a title that makes people move out your way. And some of that's nice. I ain't gonna lie. I like air conditioning and not worrying where the next meal coming from. But success without gratitude is just a pretty prison. You'll have everything and still feel empty because you locked out the people who knew your name before the world ever did." My son thought he was upgrading his life when he really just traded real for fake. Don't you do that. Keep the old friends who knew you when you were broke. Keep the family who prayed you through nights you don't even remember. Keep the scars and the stories and the people who bandaged both. That's the third truth. Real wealth is measured by who still loves you when the money disappears tomorrow. He held that first dollar he ever earned, the one I kept all those years, and he laughed through the tears. "Mama, I make 6 figures now, and I ain't got nothing that feels this good." And right then, I saw it click the moment the spell broke. He saw that everything he was chasing was just trying to fill a hole shaped exactly like the little boy who used to run to my arms when the world felt too big. We sat there on that cold marble floor for hours, reading every letter, touching every memory, putting the pieces of us back together one tear at a time. And when the sun came up, he looked at me, really looked, and said, "I've been such a fool." And I told him what I'm telling you now. The fourth truth is that it's never too late to come home, as long as you're willing to crawl if you have to. Pride walks out tall, but love comes back on its knees, and that's okay. That's holy. Later that week, he did something I'll never forget. He took that wooden box, the one he called cheap, and he built a shadow box frame for it with his own hands, rough and imperfect like when he was 10, and made me a birdhouse that fell apart in first rain. He hung it right over the fireplace in that big fancy house, right where everybody who walks in can see it. And underneath he carved one line, "These are my real treasures. People come over now, coworkers, new friends, his wife's family, and they ask about it. And every single time, my son tells them the story of the day he told his mama to take her cheap gift and leave, and how she left him riches he was too blind to see. That's the fifth truth, babies. When you finally wake up and own your mistakes out loud, you turn your shame into someone else's salvation. Your mess becomes your message. Your scars become someone else's map out of the dark." And the last thing, the thing that still makes my chest tight, he started coming by every Sunday again, just like when he was little. Brings his babies now, my grandbabies, and we sit on my same old porch, and he tells them, "Listen to your Auntie Mae, she knows things." And I watch him hold his daughter the way I once held him, and I know the circle ain't broken. Love won. Not money, not status, not the lie that you have to leave people behind to move forward. Love won because I refused to curse him when he cursed me. I refused to close the door he slammed in my face. I left the truth sitting on his counter, and I walked away praying he'd open it before he lost himself forever. And he did. That's the sixth and final truth I need you to carry out of here tonight. Never underestimate the power of leaving love behind when someone rejects it. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is walking away with your heart still open. Sometimes the loudest sermon is silence and a box full of memories. Sometimes all it takes to bring a wanderer home is proof that they were loved when they were too broken to believe it. So hear me now, child. If you've pushed away someone who loved you poor, go back. If you've laughed at simple gifts because they didn't come from a big store, fall on your face and thank God for them. If you've forgotten the hands that held you when you couldn't hold yourself, find those hands today and kiss them like your life depends on it, because it does. And if you're the one who's been pushed away, keep loving anyway. Keep leaving little boxes of truth on cold marble counters. Keep praying in the car with tears blurring the streetlights, because one day they're gonna open that box, and when they do, they're gonna fall apart and come running home. And all the pain will be worth it when you feel those arms around your neck again, like you're the only safe place left in the world. I love you, babies. Auntie Mae loves you something fierce. Now go make me proud, go love somebody back to life.